Can you share your best pings to your allies? I don't think I've ever said that. Where units is a very common one. T2 where is one I say a lot. Or where T2, that kind of thing.
Battle started.
Yes. So in this game, we've sailed twice. Justed as a fairly standard meta geo build. Tina does a fairly standard meta safe front build. Bond is a lot more complex. Am I on a timer? How do you mean? Is it considered all in if eco boosts geo? Yes, definitely. It's pretty. It depends exactly how, because there were builds where people would go bot lab on eco, make a bunch of res bots and cons, and then boost the geo. Making the geo a bit stronger, having a T2, getting T2 con out faster. But you also have people going, I make 10 wins and then I fly my commander over and full hard boost your lab. So it's going to depend on which one of those it is. If they do the making T1 economy, well, Glass has done both. Me and Glass had a whole bunch of boost wars versus each other. It was quite fun. But it started out E-Star without an E. He had Solar Collector. He went on low priority, probably, so he was able to afford it. I personally would say move forward, eat trees in between, but the E-Store itself is very strong. I probably wouldn't have made it this fast. I'd have made it after Resbots, but either way, it's still very much the same thing. We'll speed up a little bit. Oh, it will also eat everybody's overflow, which is very good. He goes into 5 Resbots before any cons. 3 on the trees. 3 on trees is enough for your commander to boost out bots. The next one goes and eats the rocks along the shore, then starts eating more trees. The next one partially eats the solar, so it's low. Partially eats the bot lab. Then he gives a resbot and a con to this player on the sea. Generally nearly always required. He eats these down to nearly dead, to nearly gone, and then puts them back on trees. Boosts out a con, boosts out the geo. Ignore that. Basically priority, get the geo up, get a T2 lab of some kind. He's going into Mouses this game, which is a pretty reliable, not the best, but very reliable, very easy to execute. Commander boosts out the last con, start building the vehicle lab. You don't need to eat these until you've actually run out of metal. Commander spends his time putting down converters. I take it Geo must go bots. Always open bots. You don't have to tech into bots, but you basically always have to open bots. T1 bombers don't exist. Yes. It would take quite a few I've got to meet my follower goal. Very nice. Thank you, people. It takes a pretty dedicated bombing run to actually do significant damage early on, because so much of your economy is in resbots. So losing the solar after you have a couple of resbots out doesn't matter. That's why you eat it. Yeah, straight into this lab. Eats this lab to keep powering it. He'll time it so he almost never metal stalls, because resbots are that good. Resbots are indeed that good. Resbots are ridiculously good. Particularly on this map, but resbots in general are very, very good. He only has a very short metal stall. You could shave 10 seconds off this with perfect reclaim. He goes into some LTs just to defend himself because hovers is fairly common. They often hit around this time. Oh, I got another follow. Thank you. And then he just goes straight into 3 Mausers into a advanced constructor. Going the advanced constructor first can happen. It's very greedy. The advanced constructor itself is 500 metal. All of the mexes are 600 metal each. That's nearly 3,000 metal that you spent before you have any impact on the game. Played with a Geo who rushed hovers and bullied Seawards. Enormous. So there is, well, like I said at the beginning, the priority for everybody is to do what wins them the game. Generally, these are the things. I'm saying the things that are most likely to win you the game. There is space for doing weird stuff, but I generally wouldn't recommend it until you understand why people do the things they currently do. So yes, you can open hovers. It's probably not a good idea. So he is a bit greedy here. He's made Mausers for the front. You keep them. So the biggest priority, when you have units like this on the front, is to not let them die. If it's a Tsar, because Tsar Rush is very common. If it's a Starlight, if it's Mausers, if it's a Sniper, don't let it die. I don't care if you're going to kill a commander. Your priority is to not let the units die, but keep doing damage. So you just keep getting value, because otherwise your rush was a huge waste. If it comes forward, kills 10 rocket bots, and then dies, that's not worth it at all. Even if it's technically worth it in metal, you lose a lot elsewhere. So you go into after that you go to metal storage after T2 con. Eat the lab, start upgrading mexes. Generally want to get those mechs first. It's not a huge deal. Why is he reclaiming lab? Because mexes are very expensive. These 4 mexes cost about the same amount of metal as the lab. So if you want to get your mexes up quickly, you basically have to eat the lab. He has the units on front, so front shouldn't need any help, any more units from him. As long as he doesn't waste these, he's fine. The other part of it, if you give... So this is a slightly contentious one. Giving T2 to the front players too early... Yeah, exactly. Exactly as Saber says. The lab, you can't do anything with the lab anyway. Giving T2 to the front too early can be a problem. If the front is super stable, they're sitting here, they've got pork, they're sitting here with a gauntlet or whatever, there's no pressure, you can give T2 out freely. If it's like it is, it's fairly chaotic, there's lots of fighting, nobody's safe, giving T2 is very dangerous, because they'll immediately use it to upgrade their mexes, and they won't make any units. If these guys keep making units, and these guys don't, you probably just die. So if it's super safe and stable, you can afford to give it. Otherwise, you're better off either making... If it's super dying, you can't give it to them. You need to make T2 units. You can't even make your own mexes. Like if it's pushed up to here, and they're hard pushing, you just have to pump units. You can't even make T2 mexes yourself. If it's as it is, get your T2 mexes up. Get a lab down again. Start giving T2 cons out after you've done your lab. You've already helped them. So, yeah. They shouldn't need any more from you for a bit. If they pay, you can try and sneak one out. If they pay before you eat your lab, you can try and sneak one out. But don't delay eating your lab for them to pay. If they can't afford to pay, they definitely can't afford to upgrade their mexes. Basically. Yeah, we'll move on. He does some pretty good micro here. He snipes off the enemy Quakers using his slight range advantage. Starts pressuring forward. He gets his mexes up. He gets his AGO up. He gives the T2 con after he's tapped the blueprints. He gives the T2 con to his front that he knows will make good use of it. Keeps microing the front units. You don't need to keep the T2 con. Allows you to repair the Mausers. Yeah, you can ask them to if you see the opportunity. Don't expect people to do something if you haven't asked them to do it. But yeah, now he goes into T2 cons for players, and he's free to do what he wants. You can also bring your own red spots forward. Exactly. Yes. They go into a late Tsar. It ends up getting far too much value. And the game slowly collapses from here. Starlights are a decent choice. Starlights are very good. If you have people in front making units in front of you, Starlights are very good. Right. I think that's basically everything. So, from the Geo perspective, you can do that same opening into nearly any T2 unit. There are specialized air openings I wouldn't necessarily recommend. But if you do that general thing, you can do it into Tsar, you can do it into Sheldons, you can do it into Hounds, Spybots, Snipers, whatever. It's all good. Do you multi-e-store for Starlights? With the AGO, one is fine. 18k is plenty. So the AGO can power, I would think, about 4 Starlights, generally. I don't know the exact maths, but that's what feels right. The problem is if you try to then make Jags or anything on top of that, you'll stall very quickly. So I tend to prefer going less than 4 Starlights on just AGO. Jags cost a lot of energy. We actually see him do that exact thing. He goes into Jags after this, and he starts stalling. He does go into an anti-nuke. So, anti-nuke timings, it's a pretty small thing. Math-wise, 6 will take order. Yeah, that makes sense. Feels all in. I tend to think of most plays are going all in eco, switching between them. If you're trying to make units and eco, it's probably a bad idea. You're probably messing up somewhere. You can do it with wind scaling, because wind is so metal efficient and so build power hungry, so it uses up your metal slower. But making a fusion here will eat all of his metal, and he won't be able to do anything else. So we have a big problem here. Con blows, kills a Starlight, and the front slowly dies from there. This guy's generally in a bad position. But as we can see, this guy was making his T2 mexes, and his lab is idle, and he can't afford to make any units. It's a big problem. Happens a lot. Yeah. This game slowly goes worse and worse for Justa from here. But his opening was very solid. We can have a look at the other spot, because Tina also played a fairly solid position, safe front.